All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we are getting ready for game two here. I am still AJ0, going to be joined by my wonderful co-pilot, Failed Destiny, coming off a crushing defeat. So I'm
Oh, it's
not going
still
to
fun
ask how
though.
he's doing. No, stop it. You lost.
Sorry,
You're
it's
allowed to be
terrible. I'm
mad. Yes,
sad.
there you
I'm
go.
crying.
But
The
what no one
SBL
has
depresses me.
Now you're invested properly. But what isn't sad is this matchup we have coming up here for game two, our game of the week between the 2-0 Coffee House versus the 2-0 Think Twice as Scrappy affiliates for sole possession of first place.
Why is that sad? Are you Trump? I don't
I said
I
that
don't
I know
get
I
it.
said there's nothing sad about this.
Oh, there's nothing sad. I thought you were like this is gonna be sad, and I was like, wait, these teams are both really good. How's this gonna be sad?
No, this is not going to be sad.
Regardless,
It's going to be really exciting because these teams have strengths in very different places. And so far this
exactly.
season, we've seen a lot of games where different people have gone off against each other on opposite sides of the map. I'm hoping it happens again. So we are into the draft here, and Coffee House is going to take away some real obvious picks. Labour's Vel'Koz, Master Splinter's Evelyn, the first two to go, and then Master Splinters Hecarim to round out their first ban phase. Meanwhile, TSA not surprising anyone by taking away Kled and Wukong from Mad Cow and Salvo's Jinx. It's
So
crazy to think
with
that
how quickly, oh, go ahead.
it's just crazy to me to think that there was a game where that Vel'Koz and that Jinx were played, and they both hard carried.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that they hard carried. Very surprised that they let him through with more rookies that come into the league that think they can take on Vel'Koz or the Jing or deal with either of them. They'll just continue learning. Not going to happen. Something that I've noticed with this pick and ban, it's gone quickly. So I think right now we've seen that these teams both really know exactly what they want to do. And aside from this second pick for
it,
TSA,
I think it's going to
it's
be
been going
Nami.
fast.
Yeah. Um, going back in rotation, we got the first pick overall going to be Dub Drum going for his tried and true Vi that he's played a million times. Ooh, I was not expecting that. As we see TSA take Misfortune and Blitzcrank with their first rotation. This is the third week in a row they've run the MF. I assumed it would also be the third week in a row they've run the Nami, but totally changing gears with a very blind Blitzcrank. I am not sure how I feel about that.
So I've actually looked into this team quite a bit. We played them last week, and something that we had to be aware of is the Blitzcrank. He has played it quite a bit in his match history, so something that people are going to see. And him playing it now, we'll actually see how good it is in a 5v5 format. But to counter that Blitzcrank, and Alistar and an Ezreal. Alistar, if he gets pulled, pulverize, headbutt, either into the team or away from the team, to murder someone, or the Ezreal can just arcane shift out of it if he wants to.
Yeah, actually,
So
a lot of people might not know this if you don't play Ezreal. If you've never played Ezreal into Blitzcrank multiple times, Ezreal, if you have any reaction speed whatsoever, you can actually be hit by the hook and still E out of it.
yeah,
Um,
as long as you don't care about taking the damage, you're completely safe every time.
yep, it's you don't get it much harder of a counter than that. So, and that's got to be the best lane you could possibly play into a Blitzcrank. So really like those picks out of Coffee House. And we're going to see, to round out this first rotation here, Master Splinter picking up the Jarvan that he was super successful on last week. Um,
And this team for the Coffee House looking very tanky so far. So if they get one more tank, it's going to be a hard wall through with that MF. Even if she builds Black Cleaver, that's a lot of health. So less dunking for the J4 and more skirmishes I'd expect out of both of these teams so far.
yeah, there's nothing about that Jarvan pick that I'm super crazy about just in a vacuum, but it's one of those picks that if Splinter feels good about, which he feels very good about on the current patch, you're not going to complain about seeing it.
And if he can continue picking people out with it, it's just gonna continue to succeed for him.
All
And
right,
then
so
for TSA, we see the Zyra ban come out. So Cruise
big.
Master has done
Played
very well in that Zyra.
Yeah, he's picked Zyra both weeks so far, and it's all time. I think most people would think of it as his best mid laner, in addition to being one of his best support picks. Just a really smart band that I'm surprised it took us till week 3 to see.
Ooh, and then the Oriana ban coming out of Coffee House, another targeted ban for the mid laner. Um, History shows that these are some of his best champions, so if he's still up to pick, then you're going to continue to see bans thrown at him. And Sword Mace getting a Swain ban, he played that last week. He's played it
A
a lot
ton
this and last season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not at all surprised there. So it looks like Sword gonna go to the Nautilus, which he played in week 1. Um, Probably setting. Well, there's a lot of things that could set for Blue with the last pick.
Yeah, so far the TSA team looks very hook oriented. As long as they can land those skill shots, those team fights are going to go really well for them. Or picking anyone out, they're going to be so far from their team that they're going to have no option to get out. And then the Karma for Cruise Master,
Yep,
I
that's
believe.
always been one of his fallbacks in the mid lane when he's not playing the Zyra. Also, something he can play pretty well at support, and that lets Coffee House keep doing what they've been doing all season, which is support the hell out of Salvo and Mad Cow. And
That's a
they're
top
gonna
lane
pick.
Warwick, right?
I assume so.
Because I've never seen Vi top, but Warwick I've seen plenty top, and that's super annoying to play against. Because
That
that
sounds like
MF,
a Mad Cow pick.
yeah. The thing is, Mad Cow can't alt MF because he will instantly get hooked to death and knocked up to death by the rest of the team. Unless that's their plan. Mad Cow, you go and you try and take out 2 people, and then we'll kill the rest.
Yeah,
But
it will be exciting to see. So draft's going to be rounded out here with Blabuer taking the Ziggs, which he played last week. Very, very well. 8-0 and 6 on that Ziggs last week, as his team just kind of wiped their butts with Pot of Greed.
interesting team so far. I feel like both team has felt a little bit lacking. TSA, I think I prefer a little bit more, just because they have that Ziggs. They have a little bit more magic damage, and then with the Nautilus just being tanky and absorbing a lot of damage, that should go well. Coffee House just wants to go in all day. TSA says run at S and we'll kill you one by one.
I do not tolerate.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I think it is a much better draft out of TSA. To me, Coffee House, they have so much disengage and kite ability, but they don't have, just a great late game standard DPS threat.
Yeah, and
And
if they're gonna split their damage with magic and physical, Karma's got to get going. And those shields will be huge on Karma if she gets going, and the damage she does will be huge. But Ziggs just wave clears forever.
I actually, the more I think about it, you were saying earlier that you think it's going to be tough for Mad Cow to be going in solo. I think there's a chance we might see everyone but Salvo just going in every single team fight out of this Coffee House comp. And they're going to just say, Salvo, we'll pray for you. We hope for the best.
and then
Coffee
House just murders everyone.
Yeah, and then Coffee House has 4 dive onto the back line of TSA, and after they've killed everything, they'll turn back and be like, all right, Salvo, do you still need some peel? And if you go into, really into SBL history, that was always Salvo's kind of strength. He was a guy who could play champs that need a lot of peel and play them without peel, and it would result in some really, really dominant wins when it worked.
Well, and in the SBL, that's the strength of your AD carry. Because you're playing in the baddie league, you might not have a pro support who's going to stick next to you or a pro top laner who's going to defend your ass the entire time. So if you can survive on your own and get your damage out, you're a top AD carry in this league. But really, really interesting draft out of both teams.
Yeah, now, while we have a second here, guys, before we load into this game, if everyone could do me a favor, I'm going to need everyone to get a Post-it notes You should all own those. You know, they're good. They're useful in your house. And what I want you to do is I want you to draw a little picture of Warwick and write Mad Cow under it. And when this game starts, you're going to put that on your monitor right over where it says Ska we in this, because he's Mad Cow. He will always be Mad Cow.
So everyone doesn't forget that it's Mad Cow.
That's really the worst part about these name changes is I feel so bad for some of the like rookies who will be like watching these games like, who's that Mad Cow they keep talking about?
Yeah, he's not in this game at all.
Even worse, I feel bad for guys who don't know who Blabooer is, because he's been in circulation for like a year and a half now, and we almost never call him that.
Exactly.
At least Thrifty Senpai we started calling by his new name after a while.
See, I joined the league when he was Thrifty Senpai, so I don't know him by anything other.
Well, it took us a while to stop calling him Alice, and that definitely still slips. But the thing is, when you're that good and you pick like a not awful name, like you can name change.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a star player, your first season, and just murder people 1v1, you're going to get remembered.
Unless you change your name to Ska we in this, and everyone's going to say, why would you ever do that? That's awful, feel bad. You're still Mad Cow.
Yeah, that name's a little bit awkward.
You know, Thorian had a really good rant once. You can never be an all-time great esports player with a bad name.
Right.
He's had a lot of examples, but your name has to be something that's at least like a little bit cool if you're going to be an all-time great player. And if you're Ska we in this, we know you're not making it out of platinum. You know, it's unlucky, but that's life. I've never made it to platinum, so we don't feel too bad.
The gauntlet has been thrown down, Mad Cow. Let's see you get out of platinum. Because then we've got another diamond in the league, and that makes it exciting. If we have a diamond top laner, Purple, you might want to watch out. That's pretty dangerous.
I don't think Purple's gonna be sweating too fast.
No.
Purple
he's got a lot.
He's
a veteran.
Yeah, I would say he's got nerves of steel, but I think he just drinks a lot.
Isn't that what the Russians do, and they survive?
I don't know. We'll have to get a resident Russian expert in to analyze Purple sometime. Maybe we'll stream that. AJS and Scotch have a nice fireside chat about how Russian we think Purple Pickle Pie is.
Can we tape that? Can we have you guys in front of a fireplace?
Drinking like Scotch is he brews beer for fun. Like, this is perfect. This writes itself.
Exactly. We don't have to write the rest of the SBL.
Shh, don't tell them we write the SBL.
Oh wait, are we live?
This is Thrifty Senpai's comeback season. He's gonna win it and retire. Go out on top.
Hey, Master Splinter would be very happy with that. Blabor. Or wait, why? I don't. I'm confused. Never mind. Ignore what I said.
This is a filler episode.
Regardless,
we couldn't write Master Splinter into another championship. That'd be boring.
That would be boring. But what wouldn't be boring is if Renai Circulation won it, because if he wins the championship this season, he goes from an average place of 4.75 to an average place of 4th.
I don't know. I'm really rooting for Blab to never win one because I never won one.
Hey, I went 5-0 last season and I didn't win one, so I don't think anyone should get to win one.
Yeah, that's. Do you lose sleep over that?
I'm seeing someone. It's a lot of therapy, a lot of dolls. This is where they touched me in that fight.
What kind of doll do you get to represent Purple Pickle Pie? And how about Cammer?
I was a Poro and they were a G.I. Joe. Regardless, we are getting into game. Finally, you can ignore our crappy banter.
Yeah,
we're gonna have the coffee house. Yeah, take it over.
Both of these teams tied at 2-0, playing for sole possession of first place. The loser of this game will enter a tie with Kick-Ass at 2-1. And then our last game of the nights will be an awesome 0-2 matchup. A really exciting night. That doesn't happen too often. 2-1-1 teams playing, 2-2-0 teams playing, 2-0-2 teams playing.
Yeah, it couldn't have been written any better. So, question. Are these teams both on par with TSM and Cloud9 after they've gotten into a drunken stupor? Is that what we're about to see?
You know, I know a guy actually played against a member of Cloud9, a real famous guy you may have heard of called High. And Madam Strip says he dunked on him in lane when he was drunk. So I think this might be better than a
Well,
drunk scrim.
I also played with Sneaky, and we dunked on the enemy team. Regardless, yes. I currently don't have the game starting. Are you 0-0?
Same.
Oh, now it's working.
Yeah,
Just waiting for everyone to get in.
Spectator is not a high priority for Riot Games. I made the joke last game. I'm gonna make it again because it was a funny joke. Riot Games Spectator client is only a slightly higher priority than Blizzard takes it in Overwatch, which is not very high.
I was gonna say they just like released it after we just started the 4th season, and they're just still applying updates to it to make it work on the way it should. Regardless,
Also,
we've got
one more thing
of people
before we
running
get
red.
into game here. I was hitting periodic leg spikes in the last game, so was 30. You may want to keep a finger on your plus key on your numpad to periodically check if you can ×2 speed it to make sure you're live.
Will do.
But,
And I'm glad we found out what the hotkey is to speed it up.
Yeah, fortunately, I don't have to have a hand on the mouse because you got to watch directed camera, so it rests pretty comfy on that.
So what's interesting to hear is we have 2 ships passing in the night. TSA thought that Coffee House was going to be at the blue buff, and with the ward down, they were seen, and they just kind of went to the other side, and now they're going to take the blue buff.
This is going to be dangerous, though. Birdie Sanders, Bot, and Reventoad are not backing. They're going to walk through a jungle, and Coffee House know what's going on because all 5 of TSA stopped on a ward earlier, and this is going to be dangerous. Reventoad coming in, gonna try to drop a ward, but he's not gonna drop the ward, and he has found 5. He is getting lit apart. A really bad flash there. He does force a follow flash out of Century GG, a flash out of Salvo, and an ignite out of Cruz, but going down, first blood onto Salvo.
That's a lot of summoners. That's 4 summoners for 1. I mean, Wow, yeah. I'm just surprised with how that ended up going. Reventoad will have his exhaust up in 220 seconds. The multiple flashes will be a little bit longer, so if TSA want to pressure their advantage bot lane with summoners, they can.
Yeah, so we'll see if they do that, because they do not want Salvo to get a free huge lead out of this first blood.
And Salvo was the one that got the kill, so that extra gold, he didn't go back and buy anything with it.
Yeah, I think that's actually the right call. Ezreal has a lot of cheap item breakpoints he can choose to back on. So I think he's better off going to lane and waiting just to get his first back in a little early.
Well, and if he does that to get the tier early, if he's going that build, that's going to be the best thing for him. To get an earlier tier to build it up. Or if he can get a tier and a pickaxe, that's even better. Ooh, so we... A top lane Master Splinter just going to hang out, be seen, walk away.
I don't know if he was saw there. Oh, but the hook lands on the Reventoad, who, as we said, has no summoners available. But he's out. He's going to just knock that Bernie Sanders back under his turret and walk away.
And then in mid lane, we just see a lot of trading of abilities, no real damage on either side. The minion score, CS, pretty even. Ooh, Cruisemaster walks in, takes some damage. And I just noticed this. Dubdrum is very deep in the enemy jungle. Master Splinter completely unaware. Dubdrum opting to take the wolves, so he can't even see when it's going to reset. And we might see a dive.
Yeah, that was actually a kind of a smart invade on a Dubdrum. He knew both his mid and bot were really pushed, but now he's sticking around a little bit too long here. Meanwhile, Century GG gets hooked again. He's the North Pole this game. But it's looking like Master Splinter gonna just catch Dubdrum in the last second, loses half of his jungle.
and he's going to get spotted, and he's going to have nothing to do. So a lot of wasted time. Excellent play out of Dubdrum. Master Splinter has no camps to take on his side of the jungle because he cleared top and wanted to go bottom.
Yeah, maybe Dubdrum's a predictive madman, or maybe he got lucky there. We might never know, but it works out for him.
Dubdrum ended up using his Q a little early. He was holding it, might have slipped, but he could have done a lot of damage to Master Splinter there if Cruise Master wanted to come down. This game is very even right now. Aside from that kill and that gold difference, the CS is essentially the same.
Yeah, I feel like we haven't been saying that much this season, so we'll see maybe after some power spikes with the first backs if something starts to happen.
And with two 2-0 teams, it might be something that we could have expected, but for the lanes to be this even.
No, I am really impressed by Sensory GG finding the nice double knock up there, but Salvo gonna just use that opportunity to right click some creeps as he does not have any mana.
And Sensory GG taking a lot of free harass with Master Splinter coming down, looking like he wants to go in on this low health combo.
Yeah, but all 4 of the summoners are back up, but Sensory GG goes for the knock-up. I think he could have just kept walking there.
He could have. Revan Toad would have landed the hook because he was next to the wall. He couldn't have gone anywhere. So knocking Splinter away and then flashing the wall, that was... He must be using the practice tool. That's hard to do. So he stays alive. He has to burn his flash. But as we've seen for the last 4 minutes, he didn't really need it all along anyways, as they used that flash to get Revan Toad earlier. But heads up play out of Revan Toad for being able to line that up. A heads up play by Sensory GG to say, I don't care what you're going to do, I can burn my summoner and get out alive.
So we see some first backs coming out. One guy I really want to commend here, Swordmace, who's not been great in laning phase so far this season. Was not great in laning phase last season. Been doing very well up against Mad Cow, the king of all laners. And I don't know too specifically what the new Warwick pressure is like, but Nautilus, not a high-pressure laner, and the only reason he's down CS is because he backed first, which just gave him the chance to come back and get the wave on his own terms. So Swordmace playing the first 6 levels much better than he normally does, which could be a really big deal for TSA, because they're used to having a disadvantage in that
something
position.
Something that he could have done top lane, he didn't, but it was going that way, is setting up a freeze. So whereas he just got 12 CS, Cammer got lost a full wave in that push.
But and Dubdrum coming in, and he puts the Assault Battery down immediately. Swordmace a little deep out. I don't think he has a chance of making it out here. He's looking for a hook out of the wall, but does not get it. Kill over to Mad Cow.
Yeah, so he tried to get out, but he was minion blocked, the Dubdrum ult allowing him to get in, and then Warwick did not ult there. So if he wanted to, in case he was about to get away, they could have used it. Yeah,
really heads up all of the Dubdrum there, who knew Swordmace was going to need a super heads up hook that he could not get. Turn that into a heads up dragon here for TSA. Gonna give them a heads up wind drake nice and early in this game. Heads up, baby.
That'll help them move around the map quite a bit. MF is gonna love it. She's just faster. Blitzcrank's gonna love it because it just means he can get in position for picks easier. Normally he's not in combat when he tries to get those picks.
And you know that Master Splinter is gonna be salivating at the chance of getting in a few extra ganks. And
of course.
Looking at this top lane, it's looking like Warwick is starting to hit his zone. As that last trade was pretty brutal coming out of him.
Yeah, they're sharing damage really well, but once Nautilus's shield wears off, you kind of have to get out because Warwick's going to out-damage you. So if you can get those trades early and, like I said, get out, you'll be fine. He didn't. He overstayed, thinking he was winning it.
Yeah, as soon as I say a nice thing about his trades, he loses 2 in a row to Sword and Mace. You know, that's how it goes, folks. Maybe someday I'll do a top lane focus stream where I only talk about the top lane until 20 minutes.
So something I want to ask, was it a conscious decision for Carl this Mad Cow to get the kill, or were they both just fighting for it?
I've known Dub Drum long enough. Oh, and Master Splitter coming in the depth charge, hits Scarl in this, and Master Splitter with the dunk, not even a chance to flash.
That was a good dunk. Ooh, and an ult to try and clear top wave, but it's gonna be pretty much done by the time it gets there.
Yeah, that was a greedy ult out of Salvo. I'm not sure what he was hoping for there. As we see another double knockup. Man, I'm sick of these double knockups that Salvo can't follow up on. Ezreal's so boring.
And a rotation out of a coffee house. They sent Cruise Master top to clear the wave, so they couldn't take the tower. And Dubdrum went mid to keep the minions from hitting the tower, and Ziggs being able to blow it up immediately. Oh, and it looks like they want to go on Renai Circulation.
Yeah, he's got both summoners available, but oh, Dubdrum going for the flash. He pops the assault battery, now knocks Renai Circulation away from his Z, and the second Ziggs today to jump the wrong way. He is able to flash the wall, though, and make it out.
Flashing the mastery as you just goofed. Okay.
Man, you gotta on macro that, man. That's embarrassing.
I don't think that was a macro. Because I think it's macro to his ult. And did he ult there?
No,
he did not. It's still up. So yeah, I think he satcheled too close to the wall.
That seems like something Renai Circulation would do.
Which part?
Flash the mastery after that play.
Oh yeah, he would do it anyways. He'd be like, yeah, I goofed, I still got out, burn flash, not a big deal. But his flash will be down for a while, and if he misses the satchel charge, he can miss it again. We'll see if it's a repeat gank. That was really a heads-up play out of Sensory GG. He did flash, or no, he did not flash. He used the headbutt to get into range, and Dubdrum flashed and ulted to get close. Yep.
Yeah, but good job, Renai Circulation, keeping his head up there through all the pressure where lesser players might choke. And now Dubdrum coming to the top lane gets this knock onto Sword and Mace, and there comes the Warwick ult. Sword and Mace flashes under his tower and just barely makes it out with a sliver of health.
And bottom lane, there's a 4-man gank. Yeah, we ended up just missing it.
No, but both flashes get burned out of the coffee house bot lane.
Oh, and they want to stay.
Yeah, Salvo's got to be super careful. He has stuck around too long as Renai's Circulation coming around has forced Salvo's life. And now Master Splitter comes in, his second kill of the game. Sensory GG trying to buy time. Gonna get the kill on Reventon, but that's just an Alistair. But Reventon and Cruise Master may be feeling like they can chase this as that karma damage. I think they'll be able to hold. I think both these teams are going to be able to hold their towers. As Sword Mace now looking for the 1v2 as well. Dubdrum needs to get the hell out of there as well.
That was very chaotic, bottom and top lane. Sensory GG got really feisty at the end there. I don't know why he was starting to chase into a 2v3 when he's a support. And then Reventon just tanking tower too long. And then flashed. Bernie Sanders used the heal to try and keep him alive, and he died anyways. So that was 2 burned summoners for no reason.
Yeah, I'd really been thinking all game this was looking so clean, not like so many of the clown PSs we've seen all season, but we finally get a little clowning around.
Welcome back to the SBL. And with all that pushing, they ended up not being able to do any damage to that tower. Or the TSA.
Oh, so one thing that's really interesting here, if you look at gold, despite being 2-0, Dubdrum is up 400 gold on Master Splitter. That extra 30 CS nearly paying off, which I'm surprised that Dubdrum's outfought Master Splitter so hard because he's had some big ganks too.
Yeah, Vi does really well CSing. I haven't jungled Jarvan a whole lot to know the difference between them, but she just CS's quickly, and the fact that she took an entire side of his jungle meant that he wasted time and she could continue farming his when he was just like, hey, I'm here, I'm a jungler. Ooh, and Dubdrum setting up the sneaky planned ult from the river. We'll see if... It looks like they're guessing he's there because of how far back Sensory GG and Salvo are playing. Oh, and Revan Toad drops a ward, and Dubdrum says bye. A little disappointing. They could have went in on Revan Toad there, I think.
The world will never know. But look back at this top lane that directed camera likes so much. This is really one of the best lanes Sword Mace's ever played. It seemed like like I said, I don't know the new Warwick power spikes that well, but Mad Cow's not a guy we're used to seeing go even in lanes ever.
Sword Mace is also up in levels.
Yeah, he's got
CS.
Yeah, he's got a decent amount of EXP lead. Looking at these top players, Sword Mace up almost half a level in EXP.
That Sunfire Cape is just doing residual damage. So even though Warwick heals it, every time they go to trade, he just takes some extra damage besides the auto attacks and the abilities.
Red team has slain the
Dragon going over to TSA, their second of the game. Unfortunately for them, just a wind and a water. Not the best dragons, but as they're still in laning phase, that water more useful than it could be. Actually, it could be very useful in this top lane. Is Mad Cow? Oh, I thought some miss would get threatened to kill there. But the way top lane's going, I really feel like that water dragon could have a huge impact up on the top lane.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but Bernie Sanders bot gets hit with the everything as Salva flashing forward. Exhaust way too late on a Revan Toad, who is now running up the river. He has a flash, but he's taking some awkward pathing here, and he's getting knocked well away from his own base. Looking for a desperation flash, not going to get it. Salva with a double kill. Meanwhile, in the top lane, a big rope onto Mad Cow. And what do you do with the Mad Cow? You put it down, says Master Splinter. 3-0.
So very interesting trades. The losing the top laner for the bot lane, and they take the first tower. They're still behind in gold. Oh, and they might take 2 towers here. Oh, Ziggs is gonna ult.
Whew. That's a lot of damage out of a die.
He's only got Morello at this point, but it's enough that he just...
Bernie Sanders bot with a bad flash. She was dying no matter what there. And now Dubdrum on the board for his team. As this gold lead's starting to turn into something for Coffeehouse. And for the second week in a row, it is Master Splitter versus the world, at least early on.
Well, and Salvo is 3-1-2. Like, holy cow. Alistar accidentally picks up a kill there. Not a big deal at 1-0-4. He's going to get some items a little bit earlier to keep his team alive. Like, that's okay. But yeah, like you said, Splinter against the world. Renai Circulation, he's just going to continue farming, getting CS, getting items, and doing more damage than Karma. So we'll see if they can fight their way back.
Yeah, that's going to be one thing to keep an eye on. As we were saying earlier, there's so much dive out of Coffeehouse, but they need to play smart in these team fights. Bernie Sanders' bot is not going to be a gigantic threat on the Misfortune, as he is falling pretty far behind. So in these teamfights, keep an eye on if Coffeehouse overcommits diving somebody that's not Blabuer, they won't have the tools to handle Blabuer in these teamfights. And we could see him do, you know, what Ziggs does. Sit in the back, chuck some bombs here, chuck some bombs there. Most damage in the game. And that is really all TSA needs to win a fight, is Blabuer to get one big high DPS fight off.
And something else, going back to Salvo, he's got the Trinity Force. The tier's halfway filled up. He's super far ahead. If he can continue with that spiking his Mana Marine and getting the tier up, he's just going to do more and more damage than he already is.
And watch
and he's
out,
just going to murder people.
See a lot of bodies coming up into this top lane. I get my hopes up, man. I look at the mini-map, I see everyone going to the same place, and they all just run away from each other.
They're all thinking the same thing. Ooh, Sensory GG just beasting on Bernie Sanders' bot.
Yeah, but
And now he's gonna walk
Blitzcrank
away.
popping the speed. I think he might be able to get a hook here, but no one's following with him.
They've decided to set their sights on mid lane, which should drop with the Ziggs ability.
Yep, and oh, there's a big hook out of Cruise Master. He's not gonna have a way out, and the dunk comes in, and Revan Toad puts himself on the board.
And Dub Drum!
Oh, they insta-give Bernie Sanders bot. No misfortune coming out, and Master Splitter tucking tail here as Revan Toad is exhausted on the other side of the fight. Will be able to flash out. Only a 1-for-1, despite looking pretty bad for TSA there.
And that Warwick looking beastie. He's hungry, and his sense wore off. Yeah, he's just hunting to try and kill anybody that's dead. Splinter made it out with, I think, less than 100 health.
Yeah,
as
it
a
looked
bunch
like
of
it.
abilities came in.
Yeah, the thing we haven't really seen until now is Swordmace hasn't been involved in any of these team fights, but he's looking to change that as he gets the hook and the ult on the Salvo, who's taking a lot of damage on his backline. He's not putting out damage. Now Renai's circulation cutting under his tower, but there comes Mad Cow, gets the kill onto Renai's. Bernie Sanders and Splinter are just about showing up, a hook under the tower, and they're gonna try to put the Mad Cow down, and there comes Splinter. He does it without needing the dunk, and no, why is it frozen? What, you can't freeze in a team fight!
I've got the same thing.
They paused in game, yeah. Like I said, right? We learned this last game when you guys paused. And we're not paused anymore! Double kill Master Splinter!
That late game dunk!
That was awkward.
Oh.
But through it all, we're tied 33.2k apiece.
Yeah, and Master Splinter 501, Ziggs 013, Sword and Mace 014, and then bottom lane is 3 and 2 for kills and deaths and assists, and then Revan Toad has actually got a kill. So this misfortune is hurting at the moment.
Yeah, did Riot make some changes to make it so players can start going off again? Because I swear, every game I watch in the SBL, we see the star players going off consistently. And it is making these games so much fun to watch. Master Splinter, he's going to be drawing Jarvan bans after this week, I think.
Yeah.
Because this was not like a great Jarvan comp to be up against. Like, there's no obvious pick target like you normally pick Jarvan for. He's just picking it because he's good at it. He's 5-0-1.
So that's my question. Is it just Master Splinter playing a champion, or is it actually the Jarvan? Because he picked it last week and this week, so he has to think something's going right with it.
Well, last week, it was, to me, a much more obvious pick where their entire team comp was based around trying to just give Cameron. And Cameron was on the Jhin, so you knew something with no escape. And it ended up being a huge deal when Cameron went off because Cameron wasn't playing around his flash or respecting Master Splinter properly. And on that immobile AD carry, the Jarvan was enough to shut down Cameron solo. And that gave TSA a huge win. But this week, it is so much less about the champion. It's more about Master Splinter.
Good to know. Back on the other side, Dub Drum 104. Also, how do you look at gold?
Hit X. Yeah, if all we're hyping up Master Splinter, Dub Drum, he's having a very good game himself. It's not as flashy as Master Splinter's been, but Dub Drum, one of the, along with Sal, are really the guy, and Century GG having very solid games, kind of playing more of a team game, picking up Mad Cow's slack as he's, I don't want to say he's expected to be their win condition because Salvo's obviously an excellent player as well, but we're not used to seeing a team with Mad Cow ever not have an advantage in the top lane, and that's currently the case where Sword and Mace has been definitively better than Mad Cow.
Well, and Dub Drum, with getting those assists instead of kills, is giving the kills over to his carries, and he's almost tied in gold with Master Splinter, who's 5-0-1. If
Yeah,
in a
only
perfect world, you can
130
be
gold apart.
Right, if you can be 130 gold less than the enemy person and have all that extra gold on other people, Ezreal's 1600 gold ahead of MF.
Yeah, just completed the Manamune, which is sitting at just about 500 of the 750.
Yeah, I expect that to be done in the next 5 minutes, and he's going to be doing even more damage than he's already doing now.
So we got...
And we've got Dragon in 25.
Yep, it's another Windrake, so... TSA has been good with the dragons, but not getting as rewarded as they would like to. Although they do have a decent comp for using the Windrags.
Yeah, if they can run in and out and just continue to do what they've been doing.
Yeah, we see a lot of bodies heading towards that Drake. Both top laners with the teleports available. And that's a big thing I want to see in this team fight, is it was that last team fight that was really staggered where Sword Mace came in on the roam from top lane. But we generally haven't seen Sword Mace there for his team, and now Renai's circulation maybe getting caught out. Master Splinter has to commit. Bernie Sanders bot does not have an ult available, and Master Splinter is going to go down first. Sword Mace a little late to this fight, but he has arrived. And now Scarrow, we end this with a very late teleport, but they've already traded 1-for-1, and the Warwick finishes the ult. Anyways, he is knocked up by the Nautilus, taking a lot of damage on the kite here, as Blabur has survived everything, just chucking out bombs from the backline. A 2-for-3, and they are not done. A 2-for-4, and now Bernie Sanders with the flash ulti skills!
He flash ulted, got one wave off to kill him. He must have thought he was going to run farther and not stand in the bush. That was a super sloppy fight out of Coffee House. I cannot believe they continued to stay and fight it after multiple people got out with sub 100 health, and then we're just losing people left and right. They lost Scarl Indus and Sensory GG so early.
Well, remember what I said earlier. If Coffee House commits too much to dive and they don't save the dive for Blabur, he will be able to carry a team fight by putting out a ton of damage. Well, that fight, they blew it on Blabur. They just didn't get the kill, and they had no tools left to dive him again. And
yeah,
he was just sitting there over that wall, casually chucking bombs on cooldown.
And no one could touch him. No one's got the range to do that except for Salvo with his ult. And it's just coming up now. I don't know if he had the opportunity to use it in the last fight. And he just got lucky because he threw a satchel charge underneath him. And after he got ulted by the Vi, he's just like, oh, I guess this is here. I'll move one step and knock everyone away from me and knock myself out of the fight. And then they killed everyone.
That was a super awesome play out of TSA. When Sword and Mace started channeling the teleport, I thought he was wasting the summoner and they'd already lost that fight. But instead, they commit to the TP, get there well before Mad Cow, and puts them into a nice lead.
Well, my question is,
2.5K.
Once Coffee House saw that Sword Mace was TPing in, why didn't they just back off? Because they wouldn't have lost anyone else. They would have lost Dubdrum and that's it. Or, well, Dubdrum and Sensory GG, but they then go on to lose everyone.
Yeah, odd situation. I think they might have been watching a little too much Code Geass, because Lelouch had some comments about the only team that deserves to get an ace is the one that's willing to be aced, and they took that a little too literally there.
Very true. And Revan Toad and Renai Circulation trying to set up a pull on Dubdrum?
And they're not setting up, they're getting... Oh! Dubdrum gets knocked away, but there comes the exhaust. There comes the bomb, but it's not gonna secure the kill. Oh, man. Somebody unbind these Zigzies, because they have been poor today.
Yeah, Dubdrum didn't even have to burn Flash to get out of that fight. However, they will get this turret for free.
Yeah, God, this disgusts me, what I'm about to say. I'm not okay with what I'm about to say. But a Master Splitter team looks like it has the best macro in the SBL. And, oh, Master Splitter going for it. Now, a lot getting popped on Sensory GG, who gets burned through the Alistair ult. No, he's just barely going to make it out. But this sets up another siege for TSA, who have chunked so many members of Coffee House. They should be able to get the second tier 2.
And Salvo ults a wave that already died and missed everyone.
That was a really bad true shot. And now we see... TSA heading towards this Baron. This could just be one of the I dare you Barons, but after clearing that ward, I don't think they'll commit to it. But they are going to bait a bush, and they've got the Blitzcrank, they've got the Jarvan.
But it was...
Bernie Sanders bot.
It was warded. At the end there, they ended up warding it safely, and they decided not to pull anyone.
Oh, but the hook does connect on the Mad Cow, who is having a bad time. Century GG trying to disrupt his backline, but Ziggs is still back there. Keep an eye on the backline. And Century GG has had to go too far. They get the kill into Nautilus, but at what cost? No, it might not be a bad cost, because the push forward, it's working. They've got 3 kills in a fight. I thought they were going to lose. Make that 4 kills. 2 different double kills for Salvo and for Dumbdrum, and it's just Blabour with no ult. This is
going to Baron?
Be a Baron.
They're going to Baron. I completely support them Baroning, but the Ziggs can do damage over the wall. That will be really dangerous.
Yeah,
you just have to see them doing it.
They just need to stay spread here. They are on top of the tunnel.
You just have to use the abilities.
Oh, he's going for the big play, but the exhaust comes down. Blabour goes down. And now Salvo at 7, 2, and 6 even has time to stop and clear away before he bases.
You just use your abilities over the wall. They're low. You saw them low. Well, it's karma. You were about to say something good about Master Splinter's team, and then they throw at the Baron fake.
Yeah, I thought Bernie Sanders bot. Well, they were going for the pick, and I thought Bernie Sanders bot and Renai's circulation were far enough back that they'd be able to turn that fight, but Splinter and Swordmace just went down too fast because Splinter has one hell of a manly build. What the bloody fuck is he building that BF sword into?
He's doing damage, so he wants to do more damage, right? That's
holy shit, man.
That's the bronze mentality.
I don't know what. Maybe that builds into something I don't know about, but
no, it doesn't. Nope.
Even in the top lane, I didn't have the balls to do that.
Yeah, he's just, if he keeps getting deleted, maybe his goal is I'll just delete them before they delete me, but he got caught out there. Wow. So, a 4K gold shift, after all is said and done, TSA was 2K gold ahead, now 2.5K behind. So this is starting to look rough. Maybe they can pull their pants back on and get off their knees?
Oh, well, sorry, stream. 30 made a comment, and we forgot that you guys can't hear him. That's actually kind of disappointing. 30's had some good, like, one-liners where he just, like, gasps, like... You know those videos, those porn videos where, like, a girl sees, like, the 12-inch dick for the first time? Like, 30's made that sounds at some of his team fights. 30's laughing at that statement. Anyway, so first drink into the game going to be taken by Coffee House. You know, alright time to get a water drink, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to get one, a water drink's going to be helpful against
while
this
you're
type
going
of
for a Baron Siege, but now watch out. Sword Mace, full positioning for the flank.
Oh, damage.
A lot of damage coming out of that Blabour at all. He might have just stopped everything, and now Dumbdrum takes the hook. He's jumping away, and Blabour finally knocks somebody back, but no chase out of Coffee House. I'm sorry, TSA.
So yeah, some really odd engages ever since that fight. I think both teams are feeling pretty hypey. Hypey words, I don't know. But everyone's just kind of resetting at this point after all is said and done. Which is probably the best thing to do. If the game starts going fast and it's out of your control, just take her easy, slow down.
So one thing I wanted to talk about earlier, a team fight broke out. Mad Cow is going for a very late Tiamat. He had the Triforce and the Randuins. That's Randuins, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the Triforce and the Randuins, and then he built a Tiamat, which he looks content to sit on because he just bought a Spectre's Cowl. Not normally an item you see anyone picking up as their third item. Especially when you're, you know, behind in your matchup.
Well, even so, the health you get from Randuin's Omen, I'm a little surprised he just didn't finish the Tiamat first, because there's only one real damage dealer that does magic damage on the side of TSA, and that's Ziggs. And after he uses his abilities, like, he should be pretty okay. And
Century
TSA
GG really wanted it, but not gonna get it.
And TSA didn't have as much time with that tower as they thought they were going to.
Well, TSA knew they were in a position where they had to just push forward to stop Coffee House from pushing in the top lane. I don't think when they made that call they thought they would get any substantial damage onto that turret, but they knew it was the only way to stop the Coffee House push.
Good call.
So it was a really smart shot call out of Master Splinter. God, that hurt to say.
Something else to note, there's no objectives on this map, and both teams kind of look confused at the moment. Except for...
Dotro knows exactly what he wants, and that's to fight. And that might cost him because he gets hooked, and... No, they're not going to disengage everything. Man, we were doing so good tonight.
Yeah, we don't have ult out of Salvo. And on the side of TSA, Revan Toad doesn't have his, but his comes up quickly. He just used it in that... Did he use it in that fight? I'm not sure. But either way, not a lot burned. Both teams afraid to fight after the last couple skirmishes. One minute, 25 seconds on Baron. And it looks like TSA is committed to pushing in the top lane as Salvo is currently bottom lane, pushing a wave out. There's no real tower to get.
Mad Cow, what are you doing? Gonna maybe get put down again. He gets exhausted. He flashes out when Century GG is here. But I don't know why TSA is scared to fight this. They see Salvo in the bot lane. They know they have a man advantage, and they don't chase onto what was a caught-out Mad Cow.
Yeah, I think they're just waiting for Sword Mace to get back. And in the meantime, Vi is pushing the mid lane.
Yeah, this should be a tower for TSA. As Revan Toad somehow actually hits the hook, but it's onto the Blitz, onto the Alistar, not the guy they want. And now we're going to have a full 5-on-5 as Master Splinter drops his load, but does not get a gift. As a lot of peel is coming out from an eye circulation and pretty safe spot, but they turn a big Ziggs ult comes down. But I don't know if it's going to be enough as those health bars are dropping low. Renai Circulation picks up a kill for himself. Both others have died, and now it looks like the re-engage has to be committed to. These health bars are all flashing, but Renai and Sanders bot putting... No! Renai gets caught, and now it's just Bernie Sanders bot and Revachel, but everyone is so low. Bernie Sanders with the right click, and it is a 4-for-4, and now Bernie Sanders bot chasing onto the Alistar. I don't think gonna get him, but he's misfortune. He's gonna start getting that move speed, but it's not enough.
He stopped chasing. He's out of mana. I feel like he could have just kept chasing.
That was such a strange team fight.
Yeah, the calls were get in, go out, get in, go out, get in, go out of both teams. People kept chasing and other people kept disengaging. Really awkward. And then, I don't know if that's just mixed calls or people not following calls.
Yeah, it seems like TSA knows that their condition is to kite in these fights. They just wanted to force the kite a little too much there. I mean, it looked like there was a point there where I was convinced Renai and Bernie had the setup they needed to just shred that fight.
Yeah.
And they didn't quite put out as much damage as I thought they would. I don't know, it's hard to say. I see the damage coming out of Babur, but I don't see as much coming out of Sanders, who goes for a Black Cleaver with his third item.
I mean, there are tanks on the enemy team.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
And here we have everyone posturing for Dragon.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna have the balls to actually do that Dragon.
I don't know.
But Coffee House looks like they want to. They're not on any wards, and they're checking right now.
No, aren't they on the enemy team scuttle? So they're aware.
Oh,
that
sorry.
Doing
Yeah, I wish I was colorblind, so that'd be my excuse. I'm not. I'm just bad.
Okay. And then they keep poking Dragon, so it keeps doing damage to one of the teams. Now we've got the Dragon Circle Jerk. Dragon is up, so every team must touch it.
Don't worry, Baron's up too, so we can switch the circle jerk if we want. And Dumb Drum shows in the bot lane. That was really, really bad. That was really, really, really bad. Oh, it's 36 minutes in. And it looks like we might see a Baron for Elder Dragon trade come out here. That's actually a smart choice out of Coffee House to make up for what was a bad situation.
And they're going to both finish at about the same time, so a Ziggs ult won't do anything. Ooh, and an Ezreal is going to come through. Oh, that had 227 health left. If it was a split second later, as long as Splinter doesn't get his smite down,
I think
Double could have taken that.
Splinter just smited that a little late, which he knew he was fairly safe to do. So I think that TSA was fine. As we're going to pop the Ziggs ult a little early. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think they could have used it for this next team fight.
Well, he wanted to clear the minion wave and send them back, but they're so tanky they didn't care.
Yeah, he needs to hit some of the carries with that, and that didn't occur.
Yeah, this true damage coming through against the towers should mean that the Baron, as long as Coffee House is pushing, the Baron won't mean much. But we'll see what these teams end up doing with it.
And Sensory GG posturing for the dive.
And taking a lot of damage.
Oh no, you hooked the Alistair again! That is a way to lose a team fight fast! But Sensory GG pushing forward, now Mad Cow coming. Alistair goes down and so does Mad Cow. This could actually be good for TSA as there was a triple kill coming out for Bernie Sanders' bot. How? That happened so fast!
They should have just let Sensory GG die. They shouldn't have dove under the tower. They were fighting under the tower when it was just one hit away from dying.
A Baron's up wave coming up the mid lane, 30 plus seconds on these respawns. Yeah, it was just a split decision. We saw Sensory GG commit to the dive, and then pause, then Mad Cow commit to the dive, then a pause, and then everyone else. But TSA had enough time to gather their senses, create some peel for their carries.
Is that the game?
And we finally saw it go properly. And I think that's big enough pre-play with Baron. I think that is going to be the game. Sensory GG gonna have to try and win this fight solo. And I wouldn't put my money on that if I were you. Gets the knockback out of Bernie Sanders, but it's not going to matter. A closeout comes here. And just like that, we've got a game over. TSA wins to move on to 3-0.
Wow.
Just a really good team performance as that game went on out of Think Twice's Scrappy affiliates.
So I don't know who to interview because Coffee House threw the game under that tower.
Yeah, that was a weird team fight, to say the least.
Yeah, I'm a little bit at a loss. I'd almost say let's get Sword Mace in here because of the laning phase. But what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that could be fun. We don't get to hear from him all too often, so I will try to bring him up here real fast. Yeah, because I really thought Sword Mace had, through all of last season and now this season is, return as a starter. I think that was
your channel.
And there he is. Yeah, but no, since Sword Mace's return as a starter at the beginning of last season, I thought that was one of your most impressive games. Did a lot of little things well, so congrats, Sword. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good right now. I've been focusing a lot more to get better in top lane, and I think it's been showing in these matches as it progress.
Yeah, it has been showing very well. Something I'd like to say is you built tanky. Pretty obvious. Master Splinter built damage, and you did almost twice as much damage as him. So I'd say you played really well. You did more damage than the AP carry or everyone except for the Ezreal on the other team. So kudos to you. Congrats.
Thank you.
The question I have is, you're going into Mad Cow this week. Did you just practice, or how did you prepare for this matchup? Were you worried at all?
Well, in terms of being worried, not really. I set a goal to be better than every other top laner this season, and I can't be scared of them if I'm going to achieve that goal. But I do have to respect the fact that he is a good top laner. I think it's the difference to respect somebody than to be afraid.
I think that's a perfect mentality for every person in the SBL here. That you should be confident enough to think you can do better than everyone if you put in the time, and at the same time respecting them, so that if a fight's going to happen, if you're going to 1v1, if you're going to team fight or whatever, that you just do the best you can, and whoever is the better player is going to show. And you showed that today you were the better top laner.
It's kind of like I said before that game. You know, to be a great esports player, your name has to be above a certain threshold. And Scarl Wiendis is just—it's too mediocre of a name. You can't keep up with a classic name like Sword and Mace. And I think we saw it that game.
Yeah.
So one last question I want to get to. I'm curious, what are the comms like in team fights for you guys? Because there were a few fights there, especially that second to last fight, I believe it was, where it was like, back out, go in, back out, go in. It looked really hectic. Was that just maybe the observers being fooled, or is it a bit chaotic in team fights for you guys?
I would say the worst team fight was when we were trying to bait Baron, and I took Warwick and tried to go in, and everyone else followed me, and I think I got a little bit too aggressive there. But we tried cleaning that up afterwards. I think the communication, like, we make mistakes, but we don't focus on them and make our gameplay get worse. We're like, okay, don't do that again, and then we just don't do it anymore.
What about that?
Sounds
what
like
about that last team fight? When they dove tower, did Reventoad say he was going to land that pull and that you guys could try and kill him while the other team either had to deal with tower or take a whole bunch of damage from you guys while they were already like at a very odd position? How did that happen?
Well, Alistar had already taken a lot of damage just from getting knocked up by Blitzcrank and getting hit by the tower. So we just kind of said, fuck it. And then after he got hooked, I hooked him. And then we tried to chain CC him and kill him as fast as possible. But then everyone else went in, but they left their backline open. So when the MF ult hit them, I just hit Karma with my ult and then knocked Ezreal and Karma up at the same time to keep letting them get hit. And that's why they got melted so fast.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome play. You guys
I think
now...
that's going to... Yeah, you guys have sole possession of first, but I think we're going to cut it there so we can get going into Game 3 here. So congrats again. You looked awesome tonight. Hoping we get to see more of that in the future, because if you can go up against Mad Cow, you are probably ready for just about every other garbage top laner in this league.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats.
And that'll do it, guys. So we'll be back in just a moment for our sole possession of last place matchup between One Trick Bonies and WCF. So don't touch that browser.